Welcome to the Dog Dialectic Podcast. I am your host, Ashley Jacobson. I am joined with our co-host, Kelly Ortega. We have been a little MIA recently. That's because there's a lot of big things going on, a lot of interesting things happening. So we got a really, really good topic today. Super excited about that. But before we get into that, first, Kelly's going to share all of her big updates and changes and exciting news and everything. So Kelly, tell us everything that's been going on since the last time we heard from you.
So I quit my job.
I almost spilled my drink.
Oh, what else was I supposed to say?
Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
I quit my job because my boss was an asshole. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was just time for me to kind of branch out on my own, and kind of doing franchise stuff from North Carolina to Texas is just like a lot. So I now own my own company here in Texas. It's called KJ Canine. If you're in the Central Texas area, feel free to reach out to me. If you need some dog training or some decoy work, I am available for both.
Awesome. What else you got going on? Anything else?
I don't know what else to say to that. I don't know what else to say.
Well, do you want to share all of your website, your socials? What is it? What do you do? Like, what services do you offer? Who are you tailored towards? What is your clientele? Come on, business owner, get at this.
I'm a business owner. My goodness. Anyway, my website is kjk9dt.com. Most of my socials are KJ Canine Dog Training, because there's some man who owns KJ Canines who has taken all of the social handles, all of the website links, and nothing is even up. It is all archived too. It pisses me off. Anyway.
Wait, there's some guy who owns what?
So he owns a company called KJ Canines with a
what is it?
Apostrophe.
What do they do?
It looks like some kind of like puppy mill, but most of everything is like archived or not up, or like just a blank web page. And I'm like, my God, I don't want to reach out to you because I know you're going to be like $500 and I'll give it all to you. And I'm, screw that. But I don't have to worry about trademarks, by the way, because it's my name. So that's a W. Yeah. Anyway, I offer dog training, behavior modification, potty training, dog boarding. I do not offer protection training, but if you need a meat bag and a suit to work your protection dog on, I do offer that. And yeah, just about anything you would want for dog training services in the Central Texas area.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I'm so glad. I'm so happy for you. I know we had talked before Kelly even moved out there about, her just starting her own business instead of, sticking with Airborne Canine. But I'm hoping that, doing it the way you did helped with the transition. So
definitely. It's definitely a lot easier because I already know like how to design websites and crap like that. The only like mystery stuff I had to figure out was just like government stuff. But a couple people helped me out with the government.
Nice.
Which, can I just say, having to pay the government to pay them taxes is just insane. But yeah.
Yes, it is.
I love America. I love it.
Well, they say that tax fraud is the most patriotic thing you can do. The United States was founded on tax fraud.
I know, it was like a 2-cent tax raise or something. Meanwhile, I have to pay freaking $99 to pay goddamn sales tax for shit I don't even want to sell. I just want to be a dealer so I get it at a lower price.
Yep. I know.
And that's why I look tired. I am not a dealer yet. So originally I didn't buy the sales tax thing because I was like, I don't need it because Texas does not tax services, like dog training and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I was sitting there laying in bed, freaking midnight, because I'm like thinking about business stuff at the middle of the night when I wake up. And I was like, shit, I'm not going to be able to apply for any dealer programs without that stupid freaking number.
So actually, not to get in the weeds of this, and this is something we could talk more offline, but there are some companies who only want your EIN number, which I'm sure you've got already. Yeah. But there are other companies that do require your EIN number and your Secretary of State number. Yeah. So
yeah. So the one I'm really looking at right now is Sport Dog because I've gone to the dark side and I'm now a Sport Dog girly. I'm sorry.
well, isn't that pet safe?
Yes, it is.
Got
So
it.
I have to apply to be a pet safe dealer. And I haven't actually looked at their website, but I was talking with my PSA club director about it because he's big into the pet safe sport dog scene. And he said you definitely need that sales tax number. And I was like,
Yeah.
I feel suicidal.
Well, speaking of dealer stuff, really exciting. We are now Redline Canine dealers. Yeah, I know. Super excited. The only downside is they will not let us advertise and sell Redline Canine products or anything from their parent company on our website. So we don't have them advertised on our website, but we do have them available in store. So if you're coming here for services, or if you're going to be at any of the events that we're vending at, like we are vending at the Shenandoah Working Dog Club, not this weekend, but next weekend.
I saw that trial and I was like, I bet Ashley will be there.
Courtney's going to be there too, and a few of the other people I think from our club are going to be there. So yeah, but we'll be selling the products. I went to a dock diving event, and so the first day I went 2 days. The first day I went, there was a ton of German Shepherds. Like, you never see German Shepherds at dock diving, really. But there were so many of them. And I realized that the facility also had like a Schutzhund club. So I'm like, shit. Okay. So I brought my vending table and I brought out all of my bite pillows and toys and tugs and wedges and everything. Dude, I sold so much stuff. It was great.
Yeah, those wedges look really nice.
Oh my god! So I whenever I'm getting all that stuff, of course I have to get something for my dogs. And Daria like loves the like butterfly wedge, the small one, like the kind of like the puppy intermediate one. But she like I'm watching her bite it and she's like crushing it, and you see like the puncture marks in it. I'm like, she loves it so much, but she is just so far beyond it. It's just I think she's just gonna destroy it. And then go ahead.
I had a really proud puppy moment because Gracie took the chuck it ball, the big kickball, and squished it. Like Fever Mix squished it. Okay, sorry, go back. I was just really happy.
No, Tinky does not do such a good job with the wedge. He likes his frisbee, so we stick with that. He tries.
He's too dainty.
Yeah. But Taylor wants to make him fast, and I'm like, yes.
Ooh. That'll be cool.
I'm excited. Yeah, so updates. Let's see. We've been doing tons of dock diving stuff. Medic has gotten like a whole bunch more like goofy AKC titles. We did Fetch. I don't know if you've heard about the new AKC program called Fetch. It's a new little AKC titling program. It's basically just playing fetch with your dog, but like it's like a baby retriever hunt test type thing.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it's super easy. The earliest levels, anyways. The retriever was probably like obviously it's the highest levels, the most challenging. But basically, what it is there are like these blinds set up, and they're 80 feet away, which is not that far. And for the retriever level, which is the hardest one, this is as hard as it gets. You have what's called a triple retrieve, and then you have 2 double retrieves. The triple retrieve means behind the 3 blinds, behind each one of them is a bumper. And so, someone puts the bumper out there, and you can have your dog watch them put the bumper there so they can see, oh, look, there's my bumper going behind that blind, right? And then you have to send them to a specific blind to get that bumper. And you have to be careful because if your dog goes to the wrong blind, you get disqualified. But yeah, it was super fun. Medic got to do the retriever level yesterday, and he passed.
Yay, Tinky.
He did great, but he still has to do a second leg of it, so,
But he'll get it.
He'll get it. But yeah, that was fun. And then we started doing Rally OBD. He did great. He got a perfect score on his Rally Intermediate.
Hey.
Yeah, he did really good on that. Super fun. And then, what else? I don't know. He got a bunch of dock diving titles. Because, happens. You fall in the pool, you get a ribbon, it's alright.
No.
But yeah, like I was saying, we're going to be up at the Shenandoah PSA, or Shenandoah Working Dog PSA trial, July 13th and 14th, I think it is. And we'll be vending at that. We're not trialing yet. So maybe this fall. if Daria can figure out what obedience is.
She'll figure it out.
Well, it was so funny because we did a mock trial and it was awesome. It was super fun. Daria got tons of compliments on her bite work.
Yeah.
According to, so the judge was John Katz and Courtney Robbins, and they were fantastic. But like, according to them, like Daria's performance would have been a passing score as far as like obedience wise goes. Yeah. But I thought she was like terrible. She was so bad as far as obedience goes.
PDC, as long as they're not like winging off the end of the leash and they've got like a pet heel, you're good to go.
Yeah, well, there was literally zero obedience and protection for her. Like, as soon as like we got to the car and she figured out what was going on, it was done. There was no obedience at that point. Like she was coming out of the car after the carjacking. Like, she took pieces of the dashboard with her as she was coming out. Yeah, like she broke the car. Like, she was coming out.
Was it a club car?
No, it was a U-Haul. It was a rental.
Oh, shit.
And then she almost pulled my ass out of the U-Haul because she like came flying over my lap to jump out, and then like I'm trying to hold on to her, and yeah, and then she comes out and we do the attack on the handler, which you're supposed to like heel your dog, and then the guy comes out from behind the van, and like there was no healing. Just like dragging her ass. I'm like, okay, we're going this way. Go left. Okay, we're walking this way. Just dragging her. The guy comes out and she like demolishes them. It was great. It was Lindsay. Lindsay did a great job.
Okay. She's like, yep. Yeah, that's even harder. She's like, I smell a decoy I know and I've bitten.
No, she hadn't bitten her before.
Well, that was in your favor.
I know. And then but then she's like, oh my god, there have been 2 decoys on that side of the car. That's where all the fun is. Meanwhile, we have to go do the courage test with the guys on the other side of the field, and Daria's just like, nope, I'm going that way. I'm just holding on for dear life, and thankfully John Katz is like, hey, decoy, can you like make some noise or something? And then she's like, what? And finally she looks and sees a decoy, and
poor Daria.
Beautiful.
Oh, is she like a year and a half now?
She'll be 2 in August.
Oh shit, so she's getting older.
I know.
Oh, poor Daria. I was just looking at the picture of her as like, I think I left you a Google review and I did the picture of me holding Daria and she's just looking down.
She's so cute.
By the way, I learned more about Google and how to use it properly. The more like you post photos on, like I try to post photos on there like 3 times a day, and like reviews on other people's stuff because it'll rank you higher because it goes, okay, this account is super active. Just a little trick that I learned lately.
I like that.
So if you're wondering why you get a million reviews from me, I only left 1 review. But if you're wondering why I left you a review,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I just asked another client today for a review because Kane went home. So
yeah. I asked my clients yesterday for a review, but then I was like, I kind of don't know if I want them to, considering I fell in front of their house in front of them.
Are you kidding? You're going to get an awesome review for that.
I hope so.
So, like, there's this really weird phenomena, and I experienced this when I was vending at an IGP trial, and it was really windy out, and I'm a dumbass. I never stake down my vending tent, and so it always tries to fly away if it's windy. So it was kind of windy, and I kind of tied my tent to my tables. Not super smart, yeah. So when the wind blew, and it blew the tent, it tipped over my tables, and all my stuff went everywhere. And so, like, everyone came over to help me. I'm like, oh my god, I should just pack up and leave. This is a disaster. Like, it was bad. Dude, I have never sold so much stuff in my life.
Yeah, everyone's touching it.
Everyone's touching it. And everyone felt bad for me, so you should definitely get a review from those people.
Yeah. You should get those little half cinder blocks and just carry 4 of those and stick your tent legs in them.
Yeah, just carry 4 of those. Totally.
The trunk is not that big of a deal.
Okay, you don't realize since you've left, my vending program situation has like gotten so much bigger. And so like when I pack my car, like there is not an inch of unused space in that bitch.
Well, does Benny help you vend? Or does Benny help you vend? Jesus.
No, not yet. Benny hasn't had the opportunity to participate in the vending yet.
Because then you got 2 vehicles.
I know. Well, even his vehicle is already packed. He's got a hatchback and 2 large kennels in there, so.
Take him out.
And go without the dogs.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, but yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited. Okay. But yes, so great stuff. We have tons of cool stuff. So if anybody wants products, Redline Canine, Viper Canine, Herm Springer.
Wait, do you care? Are you like a Herm Springer dealer now? From their company?
I don't get it directly from them.
Oh.
I get it from other suppliers, wholesale suppliers. Why? Why? What do you want? What do you need?
Do you have the little shorty big prongs?
Oh, I can get those. Yeah.
Oh my God, I hate the big prongs. Literally, this is too big for Scoob. And any left.
I know. Yeah. I gotcha. I'll take care of you.
Switching to those now for everyone.
Got them, and you got them powder coated. They're really pretty.
By the way, to clarify, I don't mean for every dog. I mean every dog that needs a large prong, I'm getting them the shorty links. Just in case a crazy person's watching this.
Right? Oh my God. Okay. So, for today's episode, Kelly has chosen our topic for today. So Kelly's going to introduce the topic and help get us started. Kelly, it's all you.
Today we are talking about dominance by default, and I've been having a lot. So in Texas, we got a kind of side note here. In Texas, you don't get a whole lot of like, this is my pet dog and I want it to have good obedience. It's mostly like, this is my dog and there's a problem and that's why I'm sending it to training, which is a little bit different than like the East Coast was to me. So I've been getting a lot of behavior mod dogs, and I would say nearly every single dog that I'm behavior modding is relating to this dominance by default issue. And it's really like it's a super easy fix, but it's a lot of work on the owner's part, and a lot of like you're not realizing you're doing a lot of the stuff that's creating the issue.
So our listeners, can you tell us what is dominance by default?
Yeah, so dominance by default is where you have a dog that just needs structure. So their temperament, they just like crave that structure. They need to be like told what to do. They don't like that. They don't like the gray areas that sometimes happen with pet dogs. They want black and white rules. Yes, do this. No, don't do that. And what happens when they don't get that structure is the dog starts creating it for himself. So they'll start creating their own dominance. Is what it says, dominance by default. The dog defaults into being dominant in the household. And a lot of times, if I'm going too far ahead, stop me. But a lot of times, this appears as like resource guarding behaviors. The dog is not letting people on the couch. The dog's not letting other dogs on the couch. The dog snaps at you for grabbing its toy. The dog is just being a general asshole. Sometimes it can come out looking as dog aggression. Generally, honestly, my best description of a dog that has this dominance by default issue is just they're a general asshole. They've got several issues other places. They're just an asshole dog.
Yeah, definitely. I had a thought and totally left me. That's okay. So like, I think what happens, right? Because you're starting to talk about like why it happens and how we're going to start to fix it. And I want to make sure we kind of like start from the beginning and say, hey, this is what it is. This is what's psychologically going on inside the dog, which is fueling its behaviors, right? Because, we're already starting to get into a little bit of the resource guarding. We're already getting into like, hey, this is what's happening. These are the symptoms of it to let you know that your dog is having this issue. But, I like to really think about like, and I like to think about this with every dog is, what is my dog thinking that makes him want to do this? Or why is he like, what is going through his brain? What is he trying to do with these behaviors?
Yeah.
And so like you said, you're saying before, like it's a product of when they are lacking structure. And for our dogs, that structure, right? When we say, hey, these are the rules, these are the expectations, you will meet these rules and follow, or meet these expectations and follow these rules. When we can say that, it makes us the leader, right? It makes us the governing entity, and our dog is subordinate to that, right? Our dog is, someone within the household who has to follow the rules that we set. Now, when those rules don't exist, our dog doesn't understand there's that hierarchy. They don't understand that there's a leader and that they're subordinate. So if you don't have a boss, that makes you the boss, right? And so our dogs in these situations are essentially trying to establish that type of control. They're trying to establish the expectations, they're trying to establish the rules. And the only way that they can do that is through their behavior and through what we see as them being an asshole, right? They're trying to say, hey, you can't get on this couch because it's my couch. They're trying to say, hey, you can't come near this food because it's my food, right?
Yeah.
And stop me if you disagree or if you want to add something. But I like to make things ideally as simple as possible so that the inexperienced dog owner, the non-dog trainer brain can understand what we're talking about. Because I know we use a lot of vernacular, which can be hard for our non-dog trainer people to understand. We want to make sure we make it super dumbed down.
Yeah. I want to add too that outwardly a lot of this looks like aggressive behavior, and people are like, oh my gosh, the dog is aggressive now, it wants to bite me. And I think that's important to go back and realize this is also one, it's stemming from an insecurity, right? The dog's not sure where it fits in. And two, aggression is one of the most natural things for the dog to do. And when I say that, I don't mean that we should accept that the dog is like being aggressive. That's obviously like a serious issue. And you definitely need to address that. But it's not like, my gosh, like it's so crazy the dog snapped at me. Dogs are very, very like live in the moment animals. They're not gonna sit there and ponder like their life choices and all that. They're gonna go for the most natural option in that moment. And most natural option for most animals is gonna be that defensive aggression, get away from me, snap kind of behavior. Especially if the owner doesn't read dog signals like a dog trainer would, which is very normal, of course. And maybe the dog did kind of give them a couple warnings, and the owner still proceeded unknowingly, and the dog did actually turn into that defensive aggression as well.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think, one of the things you mentioned too is, the owner not seeing or being able to read dog behavior and body language the way that we would. And so, they might not think that they have a problem. They might not think that's an issue until all of a sudden it's gone beyond this red line where all of a sudden now the dog is aggressive. I think there's a lot of behaviors that you can identify before it gets to that point to say, hey, my dog's an asshole. Things like my dog going over to the door and scratching on it saying, hey, bitch, open the door and let me out. My dog barking because he wants his toy. My dog, being really pushy and begging at the dinner table. My dog pawing at me because he wants something. These are not aggressive behaviors, but they're still saying, hey, I expect you to let me out when I want to go out. I expect you to give me food. If you're making something that smells good to me, I expect to get a bite, right?
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to our dog trying to, in whatever way that they can, communicate what they're expecting from us.
Exactly.
So I think it's really important that we, I mean, when we talk about things like resource guarding and aggression, like, yeah, those are super obvious. Like, oh my God, we have this really big problem I need to fix. But I think if people can recognize those early behaviors and really start to nip it in the bud, it's going to make it, one, it's going to be so much easier to fix before it gets that extreme. But also, it's going to be a lot less catastrophic. Don't wait until someone gets bit trying to like move Fido off the couch to say, oh crap, I finally have a problem I need to fix. Granted, it's usually what happens, but if we can help it not get to that point, that's even better.
Well, and I think one of the big issues, and this is probably going to be kind of a common theme throughout this episode, is there's like just fact of life. There is certain dogs that you need to look at as an animal and not as your pet. Like you need to look at this as this is an actual animal. It has abilities to do things and it will do them. It's not fluffy, wuffy, wuffy up in my face. That's not like, they're different types of dogs. And unfortunately, like the dominance by default dogs are typically not going to be ever like the wishy, you can do whatever you want and eat off my spoon pet. It's going to be that you're my dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think that there are like specific breeds that are more inclined for that type of behavior?
I mean, I want to say yes, but at the same time, I feel like all dogs kind of deserve that black and white structure because it does make them feel better at home, whether or not they need it. But I think the dogs that I have coming to mind, I think the issue is less within the breed itself and more within what we've produced that breed to be, through like incorrect breeding and things like that. Because I'm thinking like German Shepherds and stuff, but to me, there's like multiple facets to the German Shepherd breed. I've seen some really, really nice, awesome German Shepherds, super stable temperaments. And then I've seen some dumpster fires where I'm like, this dude was born to be euthanized, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, obviously, like when you have a dog in a home where it doesn't belong, like you have a Malinois as a house pet, you're kind of pushing yourself towards a direction that's going to be more problematic. But I don't think it's fair to say that this breed is destined to have this behavior issue because a lot of it comes from home issues.
Interesting. It's interesting that you brought up like the two breeds that you mentioned were your German Shepherd and your Malinois. And I do think that it's something that we see a lot. I think the reason why it might be at like the forefront is because those are the dogs that we see most frequently in training. I think the causation might be mixed up a little bit. Because when I think about dominance by default, I don't think about like your Shepherds. I think about like bulldogs, your mastiffs, because by their breed standard, essentially, they are not biddable animals. And so when we're thinking about like the animals who don't want to work for us, even if we do give them all the structure in the world, genetically, they are not wanting to do the things that we want them to do, essentially. And so that when I was thinking about like breeds that might be more predisposed to it, that's kind of like where my brain went. I think, when we talk about like the German Shepherds and the Mals, I think the issue there is just the fact that we have, these high drive, very energetic dogs going into homes with people who aren't familiar with how to do that or how to take care of them, I guess. And then we're seeing that issue arise there too. But like with those dogs, when you give them the structure, that in most cases, that's all it needs. Yeah. But with the dogs, like I'm thinking like bulldogs. I don't know how many English bulldogs you've worked with. I know we've worked together on a few.
Yeah, I haven't had a single bulldog on my own ever. Nothing.
Yeah. They don't want to work for you. They're inherently stubborn. And so like even if you have all the structure in the world, like they're still not enthusiastic about meeting the expectations you set for them. And I think in those types of breeds, that dominance by default can be really problematic and really extreme, despite your best efforts. Yeah. Does that mean that you're hopeless? No. But I think that those are the dogs that you're probably going to have a lot more issues with, even if you're doing everything right.
I guess, would you group your Shibas and Huskies and Akitas and stuff into that as well? And Chow?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like if you, like when I'm thinking about dogs who are high energy combined with low biddability, or high drive with low biddability. Because I mean, if you think about if you just think about low biddability, and I know I'm using this term a lot, it just means the dog doesn't want to work for you, or the dog's not easily encouraged to do stuff for you. Not all low biddability breeds necessarily going to have this issue. Because I think back to my Greyhound. My Greyhound didn't give a crap about training, had no motivation to do anything, but she was the most passive dog. She was completely neutral to everything. I'd be like, guess what? I'm putting a leash on and we're going to go do this thing. And she's like, okay. Right? She didn't really put up much of a fight, but she was also very low drive.
Yeah.
But we get a lot of the Corsos and the Mastiffs and the Borbals and the Bulldogs and your American Bulldogs. And these are dogs who are much more drivier. They're bred to have that fight in them, Yeah. And they want to fight you half the time because they're low biddable, right? They don't want to work for you. And if you're trying to get them to do something, right, their response is to fight you on it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, where do you want to move on to next? Because there's a lot.
This is your topic.
First, I want to say, Well, first, we also needed to put a disclaimer at the beginning of this that this is not meant to diagnose or treat any dog. If you are experiencing aggression with your dog, please go see a goddamn trainer in person. This is a podcast. We don't know you or your dog. Anyway, keep in mind, too, with any dog, when you send them off for training, like you're sending them off for what, like 3-4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks if you're like, going hard. But keep in mind, like typically you're sending a dog that is what, like 2-3 years old, maybe older. If they're younger, awesome, like get it done as soon as you can. But you're sending them off for a couple weeks of training. But guess what? They have 2 to 3 years of practice doing that behavior, being an asshole. So before we get into like all of the treatment stuff and like the training stuff, it's as important that you carry this through at home as it is with the training itself, because the dog will always default to what is practiced the most, even if it's been gone for 6 weeks. And I wish more owners understood that.
I think that is a huge, misconception about dog training. Like, oh, I send my dog off and they come back and they're perfect. They're cured. They're a robot right now, right? And I never have to do anything with them ever again. They're just going to be forever perfect. And it's not. It's not. What we do is, like, I like to think about like sending your dog to language school. We're going to teach them a language. We're going to teach you a language. And then if you guys go home and don't use it, then your dog's not going to understand what you want from them. And they're just going to go back to doing whatever the hell they want because they don't know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. And the issue stems from, like, we personify the hell out of our dogs. Everyone does it. I do it. You do it. Everyone just does it without knowing it, because the only experience that we can draw from is our own experience. And I'm not talking like, oh my God, look at him, he's like ringing the doorbell or doing something a human would do. I'm talking about thinking, like putting your brain in the dog's skull. Again, like the dog is very live in the moment. They're not going to rationalize things the way a human would. I can easily probably come up to you and say, hey, don't ring my doorbell anymore. It makes my dogs mad. Please knock next time you come over. Next time you come over, you'll probably knock without needing that practice, because you can draw back on that previous experience where I asked you not to do that. The dog is not like that. He needs to like knock on that door like 60 times before he can actually decide to not ring that doorbell. So understanding that is going to make a big difference just with all dog training in general, I think.
Yeah. And also too, like that's a really good example, because our dogs they really struggle to take concepts across context.
Yes.
So like when the context changes, the idea doesn't necessarily translate the same. So what that means is what they learn here at a training facility is not exactly going to translate 100% back to where they go home with you. And so that's why we put so much emphasis on your follow-up training, your go-home lessons, your practice at home, because when we teach a skill, when we're first teaching it, there are, like Kelly was saying, dozens or hundreds of repetitions to get my dog to understand it. And we're doing the hard part. When you go home, it might take 10 reps and then the dog gets it, right? Yeah. That's because they've done it 1,000 times when they're at training, when they're at school. But yeah.
Oh gosh, I had the next talking point in my head and then I was being too good of a listener.
Oh, you're such a good listener. I appreciate that.
Jesus Christ, what was I going to say?
I'm really enjoying you being in charge and not me, so.
It's very chaotic. See, dominance by default dog is probably going to fall in love with their trainer very quickly. So like the first couple times you pull out the dog, you work the dog, you're going to like, kind of butt heads a little bit because it's like, I'm in charge now. And the dog's like, no, fuck you. I'm sorry if I'm cussing too much. I figured we cuss.
How dare you? Hey, we don't cuss here at Airborne Canine. I don't know what they do over there at KJ Canines. God, it sounds like trailer trash over there.
No, don't get all these Google reviews. This chick cusses. I'm like, if you wear a decoy suit, you cuss. That's just what it is now. You shouldn't give the crap I say at club. I go Kelly every time you're saying like you're gonna be there for club. I put Kelly in her BBC or Big Black Canine because Gracie's black. Anyway, off topic. But yeah, your trainer and your dog are going to get together and work well very quickly because the trainer is going to start day one with that structure. A good experienced trainer will start day one with that structure and start right out the bat with, you're going to sit at the door. You're going to not be a loon on the leash. You're going to do this. You're going to do that, etc., etc. The dog I just sent home his favorite, this was not an issue at home, but it was an issue in my home. And I knew it was related to that dominance by default. We'd come in from the back door. Walking out was fine. You come in from the back door and it is like a freaking sea turtle on the slippery floor, like going like this, trying to get back to the kennel room as fast as he can, because he really liked his kennel, which was great. But it took a lot of patience and time to fix that. And once I fixed that, he was like in my pocket. He was like, oh my God, you're going to give me the facts of life. I love you.
Man, that reminds me of Max.
Yeah, just like Schmaximus Prime.
Who's coming?
Yay, Maxie boy.
And he's going to meet Benny, so that's going to go as it will.
He's a
put Benny.
sweet.
We'll put Benny in the bite suit.
He just wants a little taste. It's fine. It's okay. I'm going to my friend's on Thursday to practice handling his dogs, and he told me I'm probably going to need bite pants for the whole thing anyway, because I'm watching his dogs in August on Wednesdays.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, it's a 100-pound dog named Topaz that he went to Starmark with, and it still wants to eat people.
Hey, I know how that feels.
Yeah. So it's basically Dante, but 100 pounds. No, Bro, I trust Bro. I shouldn't trust Bro, but I do trust Bro. I feel like he is old and senile and just loses his train of thought. Anytime he thinks about getting aggressive, his dementia kicks in.
Once he gets to know you, he loves you. Like, he loves Benny.
He's the best ever.
I know.
He's a sweet boy.
He's a good boy.
But anyway, yeah, that dog's gonna be a mess. The fact that I'm not worried about his level 3 dog that I've done hidden sleeve work in his house with should tell you how concerned I am about this dog. Yeah,
it's fine.
Anyway, yeah, the dog's gonna really like your trainer. They're really gonna enjoy training, and they're gonna probably like you're gonna be watching your training update videos and be like, oh my God, like this is such a like Oprah Winfrey like moment, like it's crazy, you know. But keep in mind, like that's just because life's been told like every step of the way since day one for that dog, since they came into training. So it all makes really good sense. And when they get home, just like you said earlier, it's going to go back a little bit if you don't also do day one stuff. And even just going, oh shit, I'm late for work. I'm not going to make him sit and wait at the door. I'm not going to make him sit and wait for his food. That's going to actually make the problem worse than it was when it started, because now we've said, hey, black and white rules. Here's your consequences, good and bad. And now the dog's like, shit, you turned everything gray. What else is going to like get screwed up next? And that's going to create an even bigger insecurity, and it's going to be rougher to fix it as well because we've already flip-flopped too.
Yep. And you know, like, I always say that there's all these parallels from my time in the military to when I became a dog trainer. And I remember when I first went to basic training, and I fucking hated my drill sergeants. Hated them because they were just constantly yelling at me, making me do all this stupid shit. Like, I was getting yelled at because my hat wasn't right, or I wasn't wearing the right socks, or I wasn't standing the right way, or I wasn't talking the right way. And I was just getting yelled at for all this stupid little shit. It didn't matter, right? I never had to do this before. I lived a civilian life before I joined the military. But once I figured out how to do all that stuff, and it was so clear, because like, hey, I now knew how to like dress myself appropriately. I knew how to wear all my uniform and everything. I knew how to talk appropriately. I knew how to do everything. Dude, I fucking loved my drill sergeants. They were the coolest shit because like there was no gray. It was like, This is right, this is wrong. You do it right, good things happen.
Exactly.
I graduated with like honors. I got like special like awards, all sorts of cool stuff. And it was just because you just do the right thing. And the dogs understand that so much more easily than humans do. Like for most humans, like people I was in the military with, everyone was struggling. Like it's such a hard thing to like learn to just do as you're told. But once you figure it out, it's great. And the dogs, they thrive on it. I love it.
Yeah, I would also thrive on it. I wish I could just have a uniform set out by my boss every day, but unfortunately I am my boss and I'm not paying for t-shirts right now.
I think we should.
Okay. Before I say this, you need to do everything. And everyone's going to be like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. But I want you to think about it like this. If I took a rope, like one of the old fashioned, like, twined together ropes, and if I took one string of that rope and I put it around your neck and I tried to pull you around by it, you're going to break the string and you're going to be like, what the hell was that? But if I combine multiple of these strings and multiple of these concepts and I create a really nice, big, thick, strong rope, that's going to be a lot more useful to me to drag you around. For some reason, I'm dragging people by ropes, but you get the point.
I like the analogy.
Yeah, thank you. That's why it's important to do all of this stuff. And it is kind of like a little bit of all or nothing. You can't just cherry pick what's easiest for you. And you're going to want to do this for like at least 6 to 8 months before you start maybe starting to think about introducing those freedoms back. Because remember, we have like years and years and months of practice on these shitty behaviors. It's going to take months and months to fix those behaviors as well. And like, big things, easy stuff to start with. Make them either work for their food or at least make them sit and wait before you release them to their food. Sitting and waiting at doorways, not having free access to toys. The toys are yours as the human. And I just put a video of this on YouTube, so I'm not going to get into it. But it is KJ Canine Dog Training on YouTube if you want to learn about toys. It was 30 minutes long. Anyway.
I watched that video. That's the one where you're like sitting on the floor.
Oh my god, you watched it?
Of course I watched it.
Thank you.
I love that the camera angle is just like here.
Yeah, I have nowhere in my house to put it, and I also had to like cut out all the parts where Scooter's chewing his asshole. He has a vet appointment on Friday. Don't worry. But yeah, that was rough. And there was also one part where I was outside showing the tug stuff, and he just started taking a shit. And I was like, God damn it.
I love it.
It's always the old crusty dogs. Anyway, yeah.
Well, I'll be out like trying to take pictures of the client dogs for them, and like it's a beautiful sunset, and like the grass is all nice and cut, and the trees all have all the flowers on them. And I'm like, oh, let me get a picture of this. Dog is shitting. Great.
No, that happened on Andy's go home video this week. She just started pissing, and I was like, thanks. We were doing recalls, so she was on a free, so it was like totally like a fine normal thing, but. Anyway, yeah, so like not doing free access to toys. Crates are beautiful things, people. Even if it's not one of the expensive, big Rufflin Dakota crates, a metal little jailhouse crate is better than no crate. Making your dog wait before they come out of that kennel. You're controlling every single doorway, outside door, like door to your kennel room if you have a kennel room like me. Kennel doors, obviously. A big one or two big ones that most people don't even realize they're doing, here's the clickbait portion of the video, is the dog comes up and demands affection. So if your dog comes up and starts like bumping your hand or they're starting to lean on your leg and you reach down and you give them that free affection, that is them being able to demand you that service, right? You're working for your dog at that point. And then another one is the dog is like laying on the floor, it's standing in your hallway. Of course, our like natural instinct is go around, but you should not go around these dogs. You need to go through them, like safely. Like don't kick your dog, but like if they're standing in front of you, gently knee them out of the way. Do not change your path of travel. Step over them if they're laying on the carpet. If they're sitting on your spot in the couch, which I would say if the dog is having these dominance issues, to say no furniture in general, move them out of your space. Like if I'm heeling with this dog on the leash and it starts getting in front of my legs and maybe we don't like 100% no heel yet, so I'm not going to correct them, I will just take the leash and move the dog out of my way. I want to say, hey, you are a peasant and I'm the goddamn king, baby. I'm going to be really specific too about controlling any social areas in my home. So if we hang out a lot in the kitchen or like we were eating dinner on the dining table, the dog's not in the kitchen with us while we're eating. He's on a place bed where I can see him, but he's not part of the social picture. Same thing's going to go in the living room, anything like that too. Because again, we're having to go through a period of telling the dog that you're dirt, you're nothing. Obviously, we are treating the dogs like humanely. I know I'm saying a lot of like you're nothing stuff, but we need to make them really understand their place in the home hierarchy and that the humans are always on top for that.
I like it. So like what I like to do too, and everything you're saying is absolutely correct. It's hard when we say this to our clients because sometimes they hear this and go, oh my God, this sounds terrible. Like, that's not why I got a dog. I got a dog because I want him to be on the couch with me. I want him to be in the bed with me. I want him to hang out with us while we're socializing, right? And so what I like to do and I like to have my clients do is think about the end state. What do you want your life with your dog to be, right? I want to be able to hang out with my dog without all these problems. I want to be able to have him on the couch. I want to have, like, for me personally, I want my dogs to be able to sleep in the bed with me, right? That is a goal of mine. But what we're doing essentially is we're setting clear expectations and we're setting if you meet these expectations, these are the privileges you can earn, right?
Yeah.
So if I want my dog to be able to sit on the couch with me, my dog has to understand that the expectations set for this environment, for let's say the living room, these are my expectations. You are able to sit quietly on your place bed while we watch TV. You're able to, not jump up on me while we're doing X, Y, and Z. You are able to do whatever in this situation, this context. And when the dog is able to do that, and it doesn't just happen, right? We have to kind of teach this, right? I can't expect my dog to stay on the place bed if my dog doesn't know a place command. I can't expect my dog to wait patiently at the door if my dog doesn't know how to do a sit stay at the door. My dog is not going to know how to not walk in front of me if he doesn't know how to walk on a leash. So that's where the combination of obedience fits in as well. But we do this with the intent of that goal, that end state. And these are privileges our dog can earn, like our dogs can earn, right, by doing these things correctly. But they're also privileges that can be taken away. And so these are privileges our dogs have had. This freedom of just freely roaming the house, freely roaming the yard, getting free access to things like food and water and affection and getting up on the couch and the bed. We're going to take away all these privileges and we're going to make those privileges that they can earn, right? I don't really ever like to give my dog free access to food because I think that's such a simple thing that we can use throughout their whole life to say, hey, just a reminder every single day that I'm still in charge here. You're going to get a little freedom, right? Because you're able to meet my expectations on a daily basis. But I always want to have a little reminder that it takes me 2 minutes to do a little bit of control around food. And that sets the tone for the day, essentially. Once we've done all the training where our dog has earned their freedom back, essentially.
Yeah. And remember, that's like a 6 to 8 month period before we start thinking about introducing those freedoms back to. It's a long process and it's a lot of work, but the better you are at putting that work in quickly and being accurate, the less work it's going to feel like, because it's going to be almost automatic for you and it's going to be almost automatic for the dog. It takes about a month for a human to build a habit. So as long as you can build the habit yourself, the dog's going to follow suit because you now have that habit. But the fluid freedom and the go back and forth thing is something that's really it's something I think about often, because I find pet owners, even pet owners with children, it's very difficult for them to go into that taking away the freedom point. They feel almost like they're the bad guy when they do that. And I'm like, if you would be harder on your own child, right? Like if your teenager got a speeding ticket for going 85 and a 35, you're not going to give them the goddamn car keys, right? Like you're going to probably take some freedoms away from them. And the dog should not be put above the human when it comes to punishment or anything like that either. You should be holding them to a standard and absolutely be asking for that standard. And don't be afraid to enforce it as well. Mm-hmm. There's nothing inhumane about keeping your dog from getting euthanized for biting someone. I just don't get when people don't understand the point. I'm like, when we're talking about dominance by default to the point where we're seeing aggressive tendencies, like the dog I just sent home nipped the in-laws for picking up a toy. Like we're talking about issues that could possibly result in lawsuits, injuries for humans, injuries for dogs, the dog getting euthanized, stuff like that. Like this is serious stuff. It's not just, haha, he sit stays now. You know what I mean? So take it as seriously as you would anything else is my big thing.
I know a lot of people hear 6 to 8 months, right? And that's a really long time. I think some people will think that's kind of unrealistic or too much to ask for, and they're like, oh well, I've seen other programs where they send the dog back after 3 weeks and it's a miracle by some chance. They probably did some inhumane things to that dog during that program, just so you know. But what I wanted to talk about is the fact that it might take that long. And I think Kelly, when you're talking about for our inexperienced dog handler, owner, trainers, learning how to implement the structure is a skill in of itself that has to be learned by the human and then applied to the dog. And there's going to be mistakes, right? There's going to be, things that fall by the wayside, things where we're not really thinking about structure. And I like to, let people know, hey, it doesn't have to take that long. It can happen faster. Like if it was
Yeah.
me doing it with my dog, like a new dog, like I could get it done a lot faster. I could transition the dog away from that super micromanaged state into a little bit more freedom because we've been doing it so long. We're so versed in it, so fluent in it, that it's something that is going to be much easier for the dog to pick up much more quickly. But, I think that we have a lot of clients who come in who are really motivated to find that solution, to make that progress. So understanding it doesn't have to take that long. And the fact, like, what I tell people is, hey, I'm going to like write it out for you. I'm going to give you this detailed what you should be doing with your dog every single day, every step of the way. And if you haven't been on my website, the Airborne Canine website, right on my homepage, it says the home training guide. I tell people this is what I call 100% perfect solution that could solve the vast majority of problems with your dog. It's meant to be used in conjunction with a training program. So it doesn't go over how to teach the things like heel, sit, place, down, and recall, which are skills you're going to have to use to implement the structure at home. But I tell people, hey, this is a 100% perfect solution, but nobody's 100% perfect. I'm not 100% perfect. But if you can implement it as close to perfect as possible, you're going to find the results a lot faster. But like Kelly's saying, if we're half-assing it, if sometimes we get the freedom, sometimes we don't. Oh, I was in a rush this morning. Oh, I just don't feel like it. That's the reason why it's going to take 6 to 8 months. And it happens. It happens to all of us. We're all human, right? We all make mistakes. We all have those days. Knowing that going into it, and when you do have that day where you're like, I just don't feel like it, understanding that impact that will have. It's not just a one day thing. It's the fact that one day, that learning experience for that dog will have far reaching effects. And so as much as you can, sucking it up and just doing it as much as you don't feel like it, is going to be much more beneficial, believe it or not. So,
especially when we're talking about an older dog, and I know I already said this, where they have had like years and years of practice. What am I going to be better at? If I played piano for 8 years and then I just learned violin for 6 months, what am I going to be better at? Right, the piano, because I've had like years of practice on it. So the dog's gonna be the same way with the training. You've had years of practice being a turd, and now you've had 6 weeks of learning how to be a dog. You're gonna probably, if y'all like, if you go home and your owner isn't following the protocol, you're gonna default back to what you know best, and it's what's easiest for the dog. They don't know that they want and need to sit at the door. They're animals.
Yeah, and it's hard to not, I don't know, anthropomorphize our dogs too much, but I like to try and put myself in my dog's shoes to get down to why does my dog do this, right? That's, if you ever talk to Napopo trainer, that's like the whole goal of it is like, why dog do that? So
I'm so bonded by Napopo.
I love it. Isn't it great?
It is great.
We'll hopefully we'll go to school someday and be able to talk about it in the podcast, but until then. So I like to really get in the dog's mindset and be like, what motivated my dog to do X, Y, and Z? And, I love thinking about the military in terms when it comes to dog training because of the parallels to it. But I've been out of the military since 2019. It's now 2024. And despite the fact that the military had me getting up almost every single day at like 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, getting up and going and running like 6 or 7 miles and then wearing a uniform and going to work and doing X, Y, and Z, given the opportunity now, I will sleep all goddamn day. And I ain't run anywhere except for decoy. And it shows when I fell on my ass the other day because I was decoying and driving a dog down a hill. And yeah, it was not good.
Yeah.
It was fine. And then I couldn't get up.
Ooh, I'm thinking that's going to be a weakness I have because Texas is flat and I don't think I've ever driven a dog down a hill.
Yeah, don't do it.
Well, I mean, it definitely sounds unsafe, but like trial fields, I mean, they're supposed to be flat, but like, you gotta do what you gotta do, Yeah.
But the thing is, like, we're always, unless there's a forcing function or a reason for us to maintain some type of habit, it's going to go away. We're going to default back to whatever comes naturally, right? And so, we talk about, hey, you're going to implement all these rules and procedures to like fix this problem of the dominance by default. And over time, you're going to give your dog those freedoms back, right? You're going to let the dog get up on the couch with you because they've earned that privilege. You're going to let the dog sleep in the bed. You're going to let the dog just hang out with you. But you might find over time that some of those problems creep back up. And it's not unusual. It happens. It's a part of the training. Training happens for the life of the dog. You don't just do it and you're done. So understanding you may have to go back and take away some of those freedoms. Bro and Medic used to be able to hang out. And then they got in a scuffle because they are assholes sometimes. And now they don't get the freedom to hang out anymore.
I was literally just about to say, Scooter just went through this yesterday. Mr. Resource Guard the Couch and trying to play WWE with Gracie, which he has no teeth, so like it wasn't like it was horrific or anything like that, by the way. But if he had teeth, it would have probably been like a pretty bad situation. So now we're back to no dogs on the couch.
Yeah. I tried today to have Medic on the place bed while Bro was out. And Bro was doing a pretty good job. Bro like walked kind of past him and completely ignored him. I'm like, okay, this is going to go well because Medic has a great place stay. He'll just stay on there. I could tell Medic was definitely uncomfortable. But then, like, Medic's still on the place bed, and Bro's coming around the corner and, like, give him this weird, like, stare down. I'm like, okay, that's it. Nope. All done. You guys can't, behave appropriately. Dunsies.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. Jeez.
Could I put them both on place bed? Sure. But I don't think it's going to solve anything. That's a conversation for a different day.
Yeah. I think, is there anything else you want to add to the dominance by default?
Well, we've talked about what it is. We talked about the symptoms, right? How do I know if my dog has dominance by default? And I mean, I think it's important also to realize that it's a spectrum.
Yes.
Right? Because you might see your dog do some of this stuff, right? You might have your dog who begs at the table. Does that mean that they're going to become aggressive someday? Maybe, maybe not, right? If it's just like one or two little things and it really is not that big of a deal and you don't really feel like fixing it, you don't have to fix it. It's fine. But understanding that it could potentially escalate. So if you're seeing behavior start to escalate, even if it's just from begging to now maybe begging and vocalizing, or begging and vocalizing and pawing at you, or like stealing food off the table, right? This escalation tells us that has the potential to become more serious, right? So that could escalate to something like aggression or resource guarding, or now the dog's just, instead of just whining or maybe like little barks, now it's growling at the table, right? So you have to kind of look at everything on that spectrum and say, is this that serious? Is it not that serious?
And it's also like, I know we were saying dominance, and I think a lot of people are thinking dominant means a very confident and like outward dog. And it does not always appear that way. So the dog I just sent home was very confident and very pushy and very like, very outtrovert, not an introvert. Outrovert?
Extrovert.
Introvert. Oh my God. Okay.
Spoken like a true introvert over here.
I hit my head with a soda can today, okay? That's where my vocabulary went. I have a dog right now that's got some of that like dominance by default issues, but it's a very insecure dog, a very fearful dog. But at home, he looks very different. And this is more for, I guess, like my more newer trainers, because the dog's gonna look a lot different in your house than the owner's house. At his house, he was bringing me toys. He was like super extrovert craziness. And I knew from what the owners were telling me, I was like, I'm pretty sure I know what this is. It's going to be that dominance by default stuff. But here he is very much like tucked into himself. He's very like lip licks, uncomfortable on the place bed. He's putting his back to me, stuff like that. But he still gives me some of those pushy behaviors at the same time. Mm-hmm. So don't be just looking for it in those very confident dogs.
So like when we talk about dominance too, like the word, like if you think about the word dominant, right? Dominant, I feel like has a negative connotation to it. It doesn't sound like a good thing. But confident is a good thing to be, right? When I say, "Oh, that's a very confident person," that's a very good connotation. It's something I would want to be. I would want to be considered confident. I would not want to be considered dominant, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that when we talk about, like, I want people to picture a person who's trying to demonstrate dominance, right? And I always think about the guy at the bar starting a bar fight, right? Hey, you looking at my girl? I'll knock your head off, right? Whatever, right? That is not a confident person. That is a dominant person trying to pretend to be confident. And I
Yes.
think that for our dogs, it's the same exact behavior we're seeing. Is a dog trying to establish their dominance when they don't necessarily know that they have it, right? They do not really know that they're in charge, but they're trying to exert that control over the situation. But they're not totally confident in how to do it, which that is what creates the conflict and what creates the problems. And when all else fails and they don't know what else to do, that's when, like, you start to see the problems of aggression come out. And hey, well, trying to communicate with you through normal work like terms isn't working. I'm going to use physical violence now. And that's kind of what happens in, like, a bar fight, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking of like the Carolina lifted big ass pickup truck with the Monster Energy sticker and the LED underlights, and it's like farting up the highway. That's dominance by default. All right, good episode.
And if that's your aesthetic, you do you. But yeah,
If that's your aesthetic, please call in so we can determine if you are dominant by default or if you're just really confident in like big trucks.
hey, there's nothing wrong with that, okay?
Exactly.
I like loud vehicles sometimes, right? I used to have a very loud motorcycle.
I don't like them. I don't like.
It's okay. I remember one time I was side story. I was going. My buddy called me up. He's like, "Hey, let's go for a ride. We'll go to, like, grab some food. We'll ride back. Just go for a motorcycle ride." And he rode a street bike, wing wing, and I rode a big, really really loud Harley. And I remember he lived in, like, kind of a low income area, and so I pulled up and I drove up, like, his yard slash driveway. Low income, right? I remember I pulled up. And I parked, and his neighbors were out on their front porch, because that's what you do in those neighborhoods. And a bunch of dudes just sitting out drinking beers. And as I pulled up, of course, I revved my engine a few more times just for funsies, because that's what you do when you ride a loud motorcycle. And I, like, put down my kickstand, I turned off the engine, and all I heard was, when I took off my helmet, was, "Shit, it's a girl." Like, I had long hair at the time. My hair came down. It's like, it was great.
Oh my god.
Yes. But I like that. I like the idea of, like, I don't know. I just
don't
like
like
fucking with people's perceptions.
No, because my ears get all ringy because my right ear's fucked up from gunshots, and then my left ear's fucked up because everyone in my club uses the loudest goddamn whistle known to man. Like the freaking International Space Center knows that they're calling their dog right now, and I'm always right fucking next to it.
Yeah.
And obviously you don't want to reach up and go like this to cover your ear because they're usually like doing a call off. And yeah.
For me, it's the cans. The cans are so fucking loud.
The cans don't bother me too much anymore. I did learn a new way to hold the cans, considering I got hit in the face by one 3 weeks ago and I still have a lump here and it itches. I now know how to properly hold cans and not hit myself. So
I feel like there's not that many different ways to hold them.
right? No, I always thought you just hold it in the middle. That's like normal. Apparently,
that's what everyone does.
Yeah, I know, but apparently not. Apparently, you'll have like one string in front, but then that second string back, you hold it like a gun trigger.
Neat.
I haven't been hit in the head since, and I've done a lot of pressure bites, so.
You know what I think it is? I think all of our decoys were hats.
Oh, yeah. See, that's smart because I tried doing the whole Vaseline over my eyes like a freaking boxer to keep the sweat from my eyeballs. Because, like, you just can't see. Like, it's just so sweaty. Yeah, not smart because I did not have any Vaseline, so I used fucking Cool Mint Carmex.
Oh my god, I can't imagine how that felt.
Yeah, immediately cooling sensation in my eyeballs. Yeah. Everyone else wears like headbands and shit, but I don't know. I don't like having stuff on my head when it's that hot because my hair already holds heat. I just need to shave. I'm gonna go full Britney.
Yeah, that's why I cut my hair off.
But I like having girly. I like looking like a girl when I do boy stuff, like decoy stuff. Like I like my hair to be out. I'll take my clatter stick and I just pop the ponytail. Give him a little.
Yep. Okay. Cool, man. So enough about that. Yeah. So let's see. Anything else about dominance by default?
I don't think so. I mean, I did just also post a video of this on YouTube because I could not wait for the podcast, but I figured it was okay. I filmed it in my bathroom. You can see the towel rack.
I love it. So, like, I think what's one of the things that's important to understand is that, like, dominance by default is not in of itself something that has to be addressed, cured, fixed, whatever. I think that, you know, like I said, it's on a spectrum. It's not always catastrophic. I think that there are some dogs where it can escalate to that, and that can be, you know, if you understand this concept, it can help you understand a lot of the problems that most dog owners have. I would say most problems that dog owners experience, normal stuff like, you know, my dog jumps up on me, my dog jumps on the people when they come in, my dogs lose their mind when the doorbell rings, my dog steals stuff off the counters, my dog gets into the trash, my dog does X, Y, and Z. A lot of that comes back to this concept. And so I'm actually really glad that we covered this today. But also understanding it's not like my dog did this one thing, my dog has this problem.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that any dog can have. I think we can actually create it very easily in our dogs. So, you know, I'm hoping that our listeners are not saying, "Oh my God, my dog's broken, my dog's horrible because my dog begs at the table." No, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Trust me, my dogs are not perfect.
And it's also super easy to prevent too. If you get a new dog, follow the steps that we told you to cure the issue, and you've already kind of done some preventative there too.
Well, I'd be very careful about using that word. I hate that word when dog training, anyways. Cure.
Well, yeah, maybe not cure, but like doing structure from day one is going to be very helpful when introducing a new dog into your home.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And then anytime they come back from boarding and stuff, I would probably recommend doing some, like if you do like boarding for like a while, I'd recommend doing some structure work too right after that, because guess what they haven't had for the past 4 weeks?
Unless they board with us, because then you get structure. So
yeah, unless you're boarding with a dog trainer. I'm talking like a teenager off Facebook.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and that's like, honestly, that's why we do it that way, right? Is because you pay all this money to us to do the training and you're implementing the stuff at home. We don't want you to have to go to some, you know, waggy tail, you know, pet playland for your dog to go develop all these bad habits and lose all the progress you've made. So finding a boarding place or a trainer that does boarding that will help maintain those routines, those rituals, is going to be super important too if you ever board your dog. Or you could just buy a camper like I do and take all 7 of your dogs with you so you don't have to worry about someone else messing up your training.
Or you can just not take vacations and work 24/7 like I do, and then you don't have to worry about it.
The life of a new business owner. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
That's
folks. Yeah, me too. If you guys have questions or you want to comment, share this video, comment this video. It should be up on YouTube. It'll be on Spotify. It'll be everywhere you want to be. But yeah, like, share, comment, whatever, copy, paste, whatever. Stitch it, duet it, whatever you guys are doing, all the cool kids are doing these days. Sample it. I don't know. Figure it out. Have fun. Remix it. remix some of Kelly's outrageous remarks into like a, you know, dubstep music.
Yeah, make my words make sense. Someone edit this. Thanks.
Oh God, if you're that talented, I will hire you. K9. Kelly is KJK9. Sorry, KJK9. That's gonna be hard.
I know that man has an S. God damn it.
Yeah. Let's see. I have tons of products on my website that you can buy. I can't sell my Redline K9 on my website, but if you message me and say you want something that we have from Redline and we do it on the down low, I don't think anyone's going to tell them. That's fine. Yeah. So, Dakota Kennels, Hermspringer, slip leashes, prong collars, quick releases, e-collar technologies, Dogtra. Kelly's selling the Pet Safe. Not yet.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully soon. But
I sell Pet Safe, so if you want it, I got it. You'll get there. It's fine. If you want to get in touch with us, if you're in North Carolina, that's where Airborne Canine is. If you're in Texas, KJK9 is where you want to be. And if you're interested in doing more than just pet obedience, we highly recommend getting into dog sports or AKC, like sports or activities. Just do something with your dog besides sitting around the house. I'm sure they will really appreciate it. Make sure your dogs are getting all the mental and physical activities that they need to be happy, well-rounded members of your family.
yeah,
Kelly, what do you got?
That's it. I'm not doing well sitting still. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Find us on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, or leave us a Google review if you really love us. 5 stars, please. And I think that's all of the social medias that I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, definitely leave us reviews. That really helps. It goes a long way, especially for a newer business. That's really how you get started. I know when I was getting started, getting clients was the hardest part, but the reviews are very, very important. And so if you're listening to this and you love all the stuff that Kelly has to say, go to her Kelly's or Google page and leave her a review. You can leave me one too if you feel like it. I don't really like to beg, so
Make me look like shit.
I mean, okay, please leave me a review just like Kelly. All right, folks, I think that's all I got. Kelly, do you have a sign-off thing you want to use now that you're a different company? As your episode?
No.
She's gonna have to come up with one. If you guys have a sign-off that you think Kelly should use, we're gonna be taking suggestions. So we're gonna create a suggestion post and be like, "What sign-off should Kelly say?" And be like, "Go potty your dogs."
Someone fill her Adderall prescription, please.
All right, go have fun, train your dogs, and enjoy your day with your dog.